Karen chews us out of her milkshake, I get her fired, posted by Deleted. So I used to work at this restaurant in the downtown city. Terrible job experience, but it was a job. One day, we get slammed. Usually, it's because of a game night since this burger place is right behind the baseball field, but this day was different. First of all, I was already ticked. Coworker who thought he was the manager showed up an hour late, so I had to open the entire front of the restaurant alone within 30 minutes because people were already waiting in the parking lot. Coworker shows up, I don't say a word to him. Oh well, move on with the day. Day goes on, and I come in for my shift. Soccer teams come over after a tournament. I'm talking about 100 players with a line out the door. On shifts like this, some of the kitchen staff had to drop everything and help the other front of house employees, including myself, deliver orders because we're taking orders, cleaning tables, putting orders together, delivering them, serving drinks, and I did this when I was 18, and making milkshakes. Customers were great. All of the players that came in were so nice, and we had no issues, no impatience, no complaints, nothing. Just a nice day. They tipped us nicely as well, so we really appreciated that. I should probably mention at this point that we take DoorDash orders, which is where Karen comes in. For those of you who don't know, DoorDashers are people who are paid by a customer to go get food from a restaurant and bring it to them. We get in our usual rush, and me and 3 other coworkers are obviously multitasking and rushing to keep everybody happy. DoorDash tablet goes off. I confirm it and start prepping the order. Mind you, this included a milkshake. I'm not going to go ahead and make the milkshake because God only knows when this woman's going to show up. Rest of the order's ready to go, and she shows up while we're helping other customers. Now let me tell you about this woman. By definition, a Karen. She had the typical Karen cut with the eyes of a frickin' White Walker. I'm talking bright blue eyes, obviously fake. I mean, they were the Twitter logo blue and almost solid, and they just peer into your soul in a split second. I swear, I saw the gates of hell in her eyes. So I'm just gonna call her Karen. She starts getting impatient and asks me how much longer it'll be. I apologize and tell her that it won't be much longer, and I go to start the milkshake. She starts flipping out at my coworkers, and as I'm passing her to get the rest of the DoorDash order, she starts laying it on me, screaming at me because I didn't have the milkshake ready and that I was costing her tips. The woman was wearing Lululemon yoga pants and had expensive collar contacts in. She would be fine without $3. Sort of manager comes out to talk to her. Let's call him C. C comes out and explains the situation. She doesn't accept what he's saying and starts screaming in front of 200 people about how she won't get tips and how hard it is to make one milkshake. Karen gives us the typical, I want to speak to the manager, and the manager just so happens to be C. He tells her that he is the manager, and he asks her to leave, and she continues her rant, calling C a coward about 5 or 6 times. Karen finally leaves. I'm fuming about this lunatic coming in and making everyone uncomfortable, so I do a little digging. Turns out, if you go onto the tablet, you can find the previous DoorDashers who come into the restaurant to get orders. I remember the name of the customer who ordered, so I go onto the tablet to find the DoorDasher's name. I find her name and the cell phone number on the order history and information. I get into contact with the DoorDash company and explain the harassment that we endured from Karen, and I give them her name and contact number, saying that she was from a certain city. They tell me they'll look into it. They contacted me later and informed me that it was taken care of, and we never saw her again as she regularly took orders from us. We all went on our merry way and occasionally called each other cowards as our own little inside joke. Update, I feel as if we should specify this, but we also got a strongly worded email from this woman stating how ticked she was and blah blah blah, and how she mentioned that she lost her job because of it, and that she knew one of us said something. I mean, duh. Hey look, here's the thing, even if old Karen DoorDasher over here was having a horrible day, as they always happen to have for who knows what reason, right? And then she comes in and takes it out on them without explaining anything, like say, hey, I'm sorry guys, I've just had a bad day. It's not your fault. You just don't want to take it out to you. Things are rough. Karen's not going to do that. Let's just be honest here, right? This is the dead giveaway that the Karen went out the DOOR forever. Nice work, OP. Former manager made my life heck, and I finally got her fired. Posted by Traveling ABC. I was desperate to join a new job after my husband and I were both laid off last year. When I was offered a new role, I knew it would be a step down from what I was doing, but the manager and the team seemed great, and that part has not changed. However, since my manager, Gary, was so busy, he basically offloaded me to another manager, Jane. I was supposed to be the connection point between my team and Jane, but it quickly became Jane micromanaging me. She would ask me to work through lunch, move or cancel vacation days, call at 11 p.m. on weekends, and order me around on phone calls. She also made nasty comments about my weight and said that I was too big for my race. The list of personal slights so long that it filled 3 pages. I would talk back to her, and she did not like that, and that provoked her more. I only stayed because we needed to pay the bills. I finally had a mental breakdown on a Friday afternoon after she yelled at me for something trivial about scheduling a meeting without including someone from her team who I didn't even know about. I was dealing with a family tragedy. I couldn't take it anymore. I told Gary about the situation with Jane, and he was sympathetic and not at all surprised, considering half her team quit. He immediately offered to move me to a different team under him. I was thrilled. Well, turns out going to the new team didn't help. Jane continued to order me around from afar. When I ignored her emails, she came to my desk one day and started loudly talking about how I am not qualified for this role. Gary overheard and finally told her off, but the verbal abuse did not stop. After 2 months there, I abruptly wrote my resignation letter and stapled a list of Jane's offensive comments and CC'd everyone. Gary offered a bunch of accommodations to try to keep me, but seeing how she was still provoking from afar, I said the only way for me to stay would be for her to go, and he didn't have the authority to let her go. Her manager was in a different country, and despite several HR complaints from at least 5 people, nothing was done. So I left, loudly and without shame, telling everyone exactly why I was leaving. Times were very bad for about 3 months. There were nights that we would eat slices of bread just so we could pay the mortgage and the emergency expenses from a health crisis and funeral. Even after he found a job, we were still catching up on bills and still are. I spent months applying to like 5 or 10 roles per day, sometimes over 20. Last month, I saw a public memo about a big shot from a former company joining the company that I just left. I used to work with this guy closely, and I texted him congrats, let me know if you need any insights on the new place. We had a quick call to where I told him some of the ins and the outs where I thought that they could innovate. After this call, he asked me to join the team as his chief of staff, and I accepted. Imagine Jane's shock when we had our first all-hands call. All the VPs and above were asked to welcome the new Big Shot in a giant conference room. In Big Shot's speech, he breezed over that I'll be his chief of staff, along with a few key names. I now sat 2 levels above Jane, and apparently within the 3 months that I wasn't there, the other half of her team turned over. Every single person left. Gary was excited for me and said all nice things. However, Jane took the classless route and sent Big Shot an email about how I'm an unqualified idiot, that I used to work for her and how I tried to get her fired, and that she suspects that I lied to get ahead. She didn't even try to be fake nice. Big Shot forwarded me her email and asked what this was about. I was so nervous and excited. Little did Jane know, I was a director at Big Shot's competitor company and was already a level above her, so 2 levels isn't a big leap, and I worked with him for 5 years. I had an hour call with Big Shot, and I told him that she was bad for the company culture and was a nasty person in general. But the evidence that he needed was Gary confirming that her whole team had turned over. My prior resignation letter, which was still sitting on my desktop when I logged in upon return, and a few other nasty emails that she sent her recent staff, which they were happy to share with us. Big Shot fired Jane on Friday. How do you think that you can just do all this over and over? Nobody comes at you for a while, so you think you're in the clear to keep acting a Karen, and then all of a sudden somebody new comes in with some power, and you come back with even more power, and then pieces start falling together like a terrible Tetris play when you really aren't good at the game. You know how all the blocks stack up, and then you're like, oh, this sucks, I can't make it win. I've never played this game before. That's the situation here. She thought she had it. She clearly didn't have it. Nobody covered for her, and she just got owned. Way to go, OP. And of course, big shot too. Make my coworkers cry? I will help karma turn your life upside down. Posted by Ancient Ice. Backstory. I worked at this hotel for over 2 years and was one of 2 people left that went through the training when our hotel changed hotel franchises. During this training, we were told about certain rules the company had. So here's the cast. The manager is the front desk manager. He was only here for 4 to 6 months at this point. Me, I'm a nice guy, unless you're a bully or an entitled person. And there's a few others that I'll mention as we go through. The story. One afternoon, I was scheduled to work second shift, 3 to 11. I walked in, and both AM front desk coworkers looked like that they'd been massively crying as their makeup was smeared. My manager looking quite ticked. I ask, hey, what's wrong? Manager says, we have a major jerk as a guest. This guy is the highest level on the rewards for the hotel chain. He's very demanding and he wants free upgrades, free this or that, and he screams anytime he has an interaction with the staff. This guy has made every department call me complaining about him. Now this guy just came to the desk and he screamed at these 2 coworkers until they were both crying. These 2 ladies were fresh high school graduates and were very sweet and innocent people. They loved helping people and didn't deserve this treatment. As he is explaining this, I look up this guy's room details. Once my manager finishes explaining everything this guy had done, I see this guy's info and I had a smile from ear to ear. I reply, hey, didn't you see that he's an employee of a different hotel? Manager says, yeah, but so what? I replied, well, first off, while you travel as an employee, you're required to behave and be respectful. It's in the fine print on the discount form. I grabbed this form and showed it to the manager. Failure to be respectful can lead to having your employee discount suspended or permanently revoked and even get you terminated. You need to call this guy's hotel and ask for the GM, then explain to him who you are and what this guy is doing. I look up the hotel phone number and call the hotel and then handed my manager the phone. Manager, after his call-ins with the GM, he has an evil and satisfying smile on his face. His GM is steaming mad after I described all the stuff this guy has done. The main switchboard phone rings. I answered, hello, thank you for calling hotel name. How may I direct your call? Caller says, I want to speak to entitled jerk's room, please. I replied, absolutely, sir. Have a nice day. Transfer the call and looked at my manager and saying with a sarcastic tone, someone wanted to talk to entitled jerk. Gee, I wonder who that could be. Manager continues after he stopped laughing. The GM gave me his personal cell phone number and said that if I have any more issues at all to call him immediately. I'm leaving the phone number next to the switchboard. If you need it, call him. I told manager, hey, your revenge is done. Now for my revenge. Manager wide-eyed said, oh crap, what are you going to do? Me, smiling a very evil smile. Hey, you'll see. I pick up the phone to make a call. Hello, Hotel Rewards customer service. Yes, I would like to report someone using reward account while using an employee discount on his stay. Customer service says, he can't do that. I replied, I know, I'm calling to report him. I gave her the guest reservation number and the rewards member number. I continued, hey, I bet anything, if you dig through this guy's history, you'll find all his stays are probably at employee discount. Customer service says, I'm starting a ticket to have this guy's account investigated. I replied, thank you. Then hang up the phone. The manager watched as I then remove his rewards number from his stay. My manager had a huge grin on his face. That was awesome. I explained, oh hey, I am not quite finished with him yet. It's time to go spread the news to all the departments that he's no longer a rewards member. I made a new key for his room without concierge access. I walked around to every department. As I explained why I was stopping by, everyone had the same reaction as soon as I mentioned the guy's name. Oh gosh, what about this jerk? I finished explaining how he was no longer a rewards member and if he gives anyone issues to call the front desk immediately, and his GM already probably tore him a new one just a minute ago. Everyone was so happy at this news. I finally went to the concierge room, used the guest's new key to void his current key, and then I walked into the room and explained the information to the evening concierge. She cringed at the mention of his name after explaining that she would not have to deal with him again, and asked her to leave the morning person a note about this guy not allowed in the concierge room anymore. She was very happy. While I was gone, evidently the manager explained what we did to the 2 a.m. front desk ladies. The minute I got back to the desk, both my front desk coworkers all came up to me and gave me a huge hug and thanked me so many times. Manager to me after the other coworkers went home said, "Hey, do me a huge favor, please." I replied, "Yeah, sure, what's up?" Manager said, "If I ever tick you off, please come tell me so I can fix the issue." Later that night, entitled jerk comes to the desk, hat in hand, politely saying his key doesn't work. I replied, "Oh, so sorry about that. Let me make you a new key," in the best fake smile that I can muster. Aftermath. The next day, I check his rewards account and it is now suspended. I check back the next week. Sorry, account number not found. The beautiful thing about this, honestly, is that this guy was doing this across hotels around the United States nation, I don't know, and using the employee discount rewards, everything against what he was supposed to do. He got away with it. He was a good guy, right? Everybody thought he was cool, but everybody else hated dealing with him, actually. And then he finally, whenever somebody steps up to the plate and says, "Nah, enough is enough, man," they get him good and knock him out of the way. What a male Karen. Getting knocked down, the end of story. Way to go, OP. I destroyed their entire company, and then this happened. Click the next video on your screen so you don't miss this awesome story, and I'll see you there.